G'day everybody. So it's Saturday the 7th of June. It's been a little while since my last video and I do apologise for that. It's been very stressful, very hectic. Spent a night in the hospital, got high blood pressure, lots of stress trying to juggle 2 different properties, having the bank involved. It's been a bit of a nightmare, and I suppose everybody I speak to sort of tells me that it's always stressful for everybody. I suppose especially for buying your first place, and I'm trying to buy 2 with no idea what I'm doing. I'm just jumping in head first. Now, what complicated it was initially I thought I was buying 1 property with cash. Then when I went up to view the property, stumbled across a second, and the guy accepted an offer of 75 for a second place. So I could have, if I just scraped everything together, sold off my assets, I could have done it. I could have bought the 2 properties outright, but it would have left me no money for moving, no money to fix them up, etc., etc. And so that's one of the things, is trying to make this work. Spoke to the bank, and unexpectedly they were just throwing money at me. So it all sounded really good until right at the very end of the 90-minute interview for the home loan. They asked about my job history, and I've only ever been with the one bank, ANZ, forever. So I've got a good history of constant work coming in, but my constant work as of the last 10 months or so has been 2 lots of casual. I'm a construction worker. We've only got a job till the end of that job. If we're lucky, we have a job to go on to with that same company. If not, you got to jump ship and just try and keep yourself employed. It's not usually an issue, but it is when you're trying to buy a house and get a home loan. So everything was approved, everything looked great until the job employment history came up. And then 4 months in this job on casual and 3 months at the previous job before that wasn't good enough. They wanted 9 months of casual employment. So that threw a spanner in the works. First contract was already signed. My name was on it. Again, I was going to buy it cash. Now we're getting the home loan. To get the home loan to go through, now we had to put my missus on there. So that complicated everything. We had to get in contact with the real estate and the seller's lawyers and my conveyancer, redraw it all up, cancel the, rescind the first contract, redraw a second one, add my missus to the bank loan now. And that all took time. And in that time period, I've still got a second house, and they still want, their solicitors want to know what's going on and blah, 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 blah. And doing the type of work I do, being a construction worker, it was extremely hard to get in contact with everybody. People would ask me questions, and I would try and whenever I've got a spare moment, make a phone call and nobody would answer. Then I'd go back to work, and I have to work on the tools around lots of real loud equipment, or I'd be climbing up on something. I just can't just stop and take phone calls willy-nilly all the time. I'm partnered up with 1 or 2 other people, so we're all working together. We can't all just stop work while I take a 10-15 minute phone call. So there was probably 2 weeks wasted where I would try and ring this person and they wouldn't answer, they would call me back and I couldn't take that call, and then there's no communication, smooth communication going on. So that just dragged the whole process out, and it became very, very frustrating. On top of that, being unhealthy since Cyclone Alfred came, that just blew away my healthy eating phase and my training and all that sort of stuff. And I'm a glutton, and I just went a bit ridiculous on the ice cream and Anzac biscuits and stuff like that. And it just all accumulated together with all the stress of doing this and juggling everything. And so I ended up thinking I was having a stroke, thinking I was dying, spent a night in hospital. So, and it's been now, 13 days? Today's been okay, but I've had a headache pretty much for 12 days solid. Really severe, thinking I was dying headache for the first night. But my blood pressure is coming down. I'm eating a lot better, and now my missus is on board. She's taking most of the calls for me, and that's taken a big stress off my shoulders. So we are moving forward now. The home's been evaluated. The contract's been sent to the assessing team, or whatever they call it. So we're getting somewhere. Signed the second contract, and it's starting to happen. So this is why I haven't really made a video, because there's not much going on. I don't know really what to tell you, but there is a little bit of a lesson in here for me and for people to learn. Like, hey, have your identity. Like, we weren't expecting all this to happen. This has just landed in my lap accidentally, by chance, and we've just had to run with it and make the most of the situation and take advantage of the two offers that have been thrown into my lap. So make sure you've got driver's license, passport, birth certificate. We had to search high and low. We're half moved between Rockhampton and here. Everything's packed away. We didn't even know where everything was. This is just another stress to find birth certificates and things like that. And the missus, her Medicare card was expired. So make sure you've got driver's license, passport, birth certificate, Medicare, veterans cards, or whatever it might be. So yeah, it was pretty tough, but the worst of it's over, I believe, until the move happens. So anyway, now I've had heaps and heaps of comments, suggestions and things like that. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Now, I suppose, and some of you are aware, this place is subject to flash flooding. Hasn't flooded since 2016. It's not deep flooding. It's not like a slow rising river or anything like that. It's actually a very large catchment area. If my memory serves me correctly, it's like a catchment area of like 50,000 square kilometers or something, the Dawson River catchment area. And there's some creeks up there. There's 3 major rivers, but there's 2 creeks that converge into the town where I am, and the water flows very fast. It comes and goes as quickly as it comes. The flooding water goes, but it looks like my place is probably the one that gets hit the hardest. Some of the rest of the other town gets flooded by the water backing up when it gets to the highway, but it looks like where it crosses the highway, between my house and the neighbour to my right, there's a drain there. I may have showed in the photos and the video. Well, that drain, I think, becomes like the major drain, And then on the other side of the house, there's also drains. So I think, I'm not sure yet which way the main thread is. I'm just assuming it's going to come from both directions. And it comes in hard and comes in fast. So that's definitely a problem. So I tried to draw it up on some paper. Didn't really turn out, like just using a pen on paper and showing it on here doesn't work real flash. So I'll just describe it to you. So it's a rectangular property, 2,527 squares. It's 40 meters by 70 meters, rectangle. So I was thinking of having raised garden beds, but a swale kind of around the house. And I wanted to use instead of building the high side of the swale facing the water, I wanted the low side of the swale to catch any mild flood water, and then the high side of the swale as my wall to mitigate the flooding. Now the reason why I'm wanting to do that is because it is a dry area. They claim around 700 millimeters a year, but I wanted to take advantage of any water running over the road or from big downpours, or it maybe not flooding, but just heavy downpours or other rain. I'd like to catch that into the swale. And for people who don't know what a swale is, it's kind of like a ditch with a high side. And I wanted to catch the water, and I suppose the main thing between a swale and a ditch, correct me if I'm wrong, but a swale is meant to be level. So fast flowing water comes in, drops down into the swale / ditch, and then spreads out, and then that mitigates or slows down the high velocity water as it now spills out like that, and then it will slowly rise up. And if I have the high side closest to my house, then that becomes a wall, which I'll make into a raised garden bed of sorts. Now I was thinking of planting a Lomandra longifolia type native Australian grass on the top of that swale, the high side of the swale / raised garden bed, with smaller species of grasses and things in front of it. So those who know what Lomandra longifolia type plants are, there's a couple of other species very similar. I'll put a grass in here. I'll put some photos in here. Maybe I'll put these photos at the beginning somewhere. I'll put some Lomandra longifolia photos in here. Now I'm thinking the Lomandra longifolias grow in clumps. They're a very hardy plant. They can grow just about anywhere from creeks. They have some type of sustainability when it comes to flooding. I've looked into it a little bit, and they can stay submerged for small periods of time underwater and then still come back nice and strong. But they can also handle drought really well, and they have an amazing root ball that strengthens the soil, and depending on the species of plant or type of grass it is, they say it can increase the strength of the soil or soil holding ability from 200 to 700% depending on the type of grass that you use. It's also a survival plant, so I like that. You can pull the leaves out and you can eat the bottom. You can make cordage and things like that, which obviously I won't be doing that, but it's nice to know that you've got a drought-proof plant or drought-resistant plant that you can eat. Okay, I just multi-purpose, multitasking, Swiss Army knife type of a plant. And it also helps with flood mitigation as well. So those root balls also sit pretty high, about a foot high. Then the rest of the grass and the plant comes out from that. So if I make my swale 600 high, 2 feet high. Then you have the root ball of the plant on top of that, which is another 300. Then the height of the plant. Now what I'm effectively going to have is around a 3 foot high wall the whole way around my place. And with that really fast flowing water that comes in, it's going to hit the ditch or come down into the swale first, hopefully disperse the first initial wall of water. Then it's going to come up, it's going to have to rise. A lot of it will go around my place. And then as the wall gets higher and higher, it reaches the plant and it will start leaking in between the different plants. So it will start seeping through. And hopefully that'll break it down and cause some turbulence and tumbling and things like that. And instead of having just a big rushing wall of water, hopefully it just breaks up that major wall and creates like a leaky weir, so to speak, which just slows down the velocity, which just slows down that punch. So that's my thoughts. And then potentially around the house, maybe have another wall of some description, you know, to try and as a second barrier. Now, that's all in my head. That's along the lines that I've been thinking. Maybe raising some ground, bringing dirt in. I don't want to plant all my gardens on the ground level, knowing that they can be destroyed through floods. And for those who know of Indigo Jones, well, there's a new fella who's also semi-going by the name of Indigo Jones as well, but he uses his same weather predicting philosophy or system, and he's predicting the next 4 years. So from now until 2029, he's predicting Australia's going to get some pretty severe flooding. And he specifically mentions Rockhampton and Gympie in Queensland, but the whole east coast of Australia. So taking that on board, I'm not religiously bowing down to it, but I also say never. So I'm taking it on board, knowing that we've had a very wet season, or a couple of seasons now. We've seen flooding in Western Queensland, we've seen flooding in northern New South Wales. So I wouldn't be too foolish to think that the grounds are already pre-soaked. We've got potential wet seasons for the next couple of years. It's probably a good idea just to take a bit of a heed of that and to take it as a bit of something to think about. So yeah, if I can take a lot of the blow away from my house and away from any of the infrastructure of the property, I think that's what I want to sort of concentrate on. Obviously, I'll get the house, the termites sorted first, get the house up to a livable state, but that's what I want to start working on, probably before really getting into gardens and things like that. Just like any foundation, you start with a good solid foundation and then you build up from there. So I think swales around the outside, and then also incorporating into those swales vertical drains or Dutch drains, if anybody knows what that is. For those that don't, I suppose quickly, is digging a hole roughly 3 feet deep, maybe 9 to 12 inches, 300 millimeters roughly in diameter, and you cut a plug in the grass, but I'll do this in the bottom of the swale, in the bottom of the ditch. Multiple points along the boundary, and then you fill that hole with gravel, and then just put some topsoil in the top 200 mils, 3/4 of a foot. Then put your your grass plug back on top, and just water it for a few days until it takes root again. And hopefully, then what that will do is not so much for major flooding, but the rest of the time when you do get a bit of rain and the rain fills those swales, ditches, some of that water goes down into those gravelly holes, and then we'll now be under the harder top layer of soil, and hopefully it will just slowly seep its way underneath my whole yard. So I'll be hopefully keeping some moisture in the soil just for a sustained period of time when, you know, maybe when the droughts start to kick in, or, you know, big gaps in the rain. Okay, gonna cut it there. Let me know any of your thoughts, whether I'm crazy, whether that's, can tweak it this way, tweak it that way, I'm totally wrong, whatever. Any advice, bring it on. Thank you.